بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. So we've been studying so far, quite a bit of detail, the topic of Tawheed, Tawheed Rububiyyah, Tawheed Uluhiyyah, Asma' wa Sifat, Hakimiyya, and we've spoken about Shirk, Shirk Akbar, Shirk Asghar, Shirk Ta'til, Shirk Al-Khafi and Shirk Al-Sirri or Shirk Al-Sara'ir. All these different terms, we started to elaborate on them one by one. So those who've been following the halakas, inshallah, you should have a lot more sort of background knowledge and comprehensive view of the whole topic, inshallah. And we'll be discussing as well kufr, and kufr akbar and kufr asghar. And we spoke about last week 19 different branches of kufr akbar. So to elaborate further on that, we want to discuss another question, that is, who is a kafir? What makes somebody a kafir? Or who is the kafir? And that is essential in order for us to understand the topic of al-wala wal-bara, which we can discuss in the future inshallah as well. So the question of al-kafir, who is al-kafir?
All of those, okay?
Just one of them. Okay. Al-Kafir. Kafir is two types. Okay. The kafir essentially we are saying is a non-Muslim. Okay. A kafir does not mean atheist. Atheist is called mulhid, the one who does not believe in Allah or claims he does not believe in Allah. That's not what we're talking about. Okay, the word kafir does not mean that. It does not mean somebody who necessarily knows Allah and has rejected Allah. No. The question of al-kafir means he does not believe in Islam. Whether he'd heard of it or not is irrelevant. As far as the dunya is concerned, he is called a kafir because he does not believe in Islam. Whereas the believer is the one who believes in Islam. If you never heard of Islam, how can you be a believer in it? You understand? It's only two types. Either you're Muslim or you're not Muslim. Either you've accepted Islam, you testified that there's none worthy of worship beside Allah and that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, or you haven't. So that's why even those from Ahlul Fatra, those who Islam never reached them, as far as the dunya is concerned, we consider them and treat them and call them kafir, disbelievers, non-Muslim. Okay? Even if they believe in Allah. The Jews and Christians, even if they believe in Allah, we call them kafir. They are disbelievers. Yeah? So the question, because they do not believe in Islam, they do not believe in La ilaha illallah and Muhammad, the messenger of Allah. We need to have both of those in order to become a Muslim. So al-kafir is going to be two types. Okay. It's either going to be kafir asli, okay, so originally kafir, or kafir murtad. Okay, murtad mean an apostate, somebody who used to be Muslim and then they became kafir after that for a number of different reasons. One of a number of different reasons. Okay, some other colors now, inshallah. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, كل مولود يولد على الفطرة. Every newborn child is born on the fitrah, the instinct, the natural disposition of Tawheed. Okay, that doesn't mean he's Muslim, because he needs to believe Muhammad is the messenger of Allah as well to become Muslim, to be a member of the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So every newborn child is born upon the fitrah of Tawheed. Okay, on the belief of monotheism, that Allah is the only Lord, Creator, Legislator. This is instilled in the heart of everybody. Everybody knows it. That's why I don't believe it's possible to have excuse of ignorance about Tawheed, on the basic Tawheed, because you're not ignorant. You were born with that knowledge and then you changed. Okay? Whether you're kafir asli or not makes no difference. So somebody when he got 20 years old and said, oh, is Allah the only legislator? That means you went back, you left the Tawheed and you went into the shirk. Okay? So the hadith says every newborn child is born on the fitrah, on this natural disposition. He said, but his parents make him a Jew or a Christian or fire worshipper. Okay? So meaning, a newborn child, if he is born to a non-Muslim family, they will make him, they will attribute it to their deen, they will make them into Jews, Christian, fire worshipper or any other religion. So the kafir asli is going to be one of three types. Either people of the book, okay, meaning Jews and Christians, okay, or they're going to be mushrik other than the people of the book. They are mushrik as well. Okay. Okay, so mushrik other than the people of the book. Let me use a different color for this. Yes. Sorry? What I'll do is I'll switch these around. I'll make it clearer as well. Okay, so kafir asli, okay, originally kafir. And kafir murtad. Okay, apostate. You can put here apostate after Islam. So we have the people of the book, Jews and Christians, mushrik other than the people of the book, such as Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, etc. And number three, they could be mulhid, atheists, which are another type of mushrik. Okay. That includes here those who are secular, or those who call themselves humanists, okay, etc. And we can even conclude in some of these other examples here, the fire worshippers and the Jews, that was mentioned in the hadith, let me just put it in here. And secular humanists you can have as well, those who worship themselves, okay, or money, etc. Or all those committing shirk al-ta'til, the complete negation of Allah and attributing to themselves the role of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so anybody who is not a Muslim, we call them kafir. Okay, it should be clear. Anybody who's not a Muslim, we call them kafir. There's only these two types. There's no middle, middle stage or a third type of category of people. We say that Islam, we are the Muslims. They are ummatun wahida min duni nas. They are a single nation. It's the exclusion of all others. And we say al-kufru millatun wahida. And we say the kufr is also one millah. For us it makes no difference whether you are a Jewish kafir or a Christian kafir or a Hindu kafir or Buddhist. They're all the same. They're all the same because they all commit shirk in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no difference between them. Okay? The deen of Islam is the deen of haqq, the deen of truth. And all the other adyan, All the other ways of life and religions, they're all deen of kufr. Okay, including democracy, secularism, including the idea of communism, capitalism. All these ways of life, they are kufr in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, kufr in His book, kufr in what Allah has revealed for the people. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, whoever hears my name and does not believe on me has no excuse on the day of judgment. Has no la hujjata lahu. There's no excuse or no proof or no argument, no defense for himself on the day of judgment. And in one narration he said, whoever hears my name and does not believe on me, whether he was a Jew or a Christian, he has no excuse on the day of judgment, or he'll be in the hellfire on the hereafter. Okay, so including the people of the book. Some people, they think people of the book means, Muslim. No. Or they think people of the book means he's not kafir. They misunderstood the terms. The word kafir does not mean, atheist. It means not a Muslim. It means somebody who disbelieves in Islam. Okay, they can believe in Allah like the Quraysh of Mecca, and yet they worship other than Allah. They claim He has a daughter, or they claim He has a son, claim He has a mother, or claims He has, a partner. And that will make them a kafir, because they are mushrik kafir. Okay, so these are the kafir asli. Okay, kafir the al-kuffar al-asliyin, the original disbelievers, those who are born, although they were born on the tawheed, they were born on the fitrah of tawheed originally, but to a non-Muslim family, which of course made them into the religion of their own parents, Jews, Christians, fire worshippers, atheists, whatever the case may be. Or sometimes it could be they are born to a Muslim family, but then they sent them off to a school of the kuffar, and they made them into atheists, or they made them into agnostics, they made them into Jews or Christians or fire worshippers or Democrats, okay, or secularists. That's what happens or not. Sometimes I've met many Muslims who grew up in the West, they never learned a thing about Islam. They never learned a thing about Islam. Why? Because their parents, they thought, what's important for us is we want our kids to have good future. Let's make them doctor, focus on their education, not meaning to learn about Islam, learn about the truth, learn about the haqq, or learn about even the matters of the dunya, which you can learn according to Islam. I mean, you can learn alongside Islam. No, they said, look, what's important is that he becomes doctor, he becomes engineer, he becomes lawyer, barrister. Why do we become barrister for? Why? But they want to send them to become these professional. They want to have big salary in the future for themselves, to be stable. That's all they care about. Maybe out of love for them, because they're thinking, want them to have everything they need financially. But they don't understand what they're going to learn when they go to the schools. Then when they grow up and they don't want to wear the hijab, they can't understand what happened. Then when they come home with a girlfriend or a boyfriend, or he got somebody pregnant, or she got pregnant, they don't know what happened. They don't understand. Because they learn more than mathematics in these schools, and these colleges and universities. They learn their culture and way of life. They learn their own deen. They start to teach them that religion is just, it's just made up. It's fairy tale. It's just, the people, they made up something to worship. And the truth is that there is no God. That's the way that they teach them. It is because many of the teachers are atheists themselves, or they become so secular. So they have, especially the universities are full of socialists, which at the root of it is completely against religion of any sort, except their own. They don't see it as a religion, but it is. So so many kids, I've seen many people that grow up, into adults, they never learn the basic thing about Islam, from Tawheed, from La ilaha illallah, from Salah or anything. But they may have PhD, they might have become doctor or professional, but they left Islam. They never prayed a day in their life. They don't know the basic thing about La ilaha illallah, what it means. You say to them Tawheed, they don't know what it means. You say to them Iman, they never heard of it. And they will start to argue with you about evolution. Start to argue with you about democracy, about people making the why? Because they never learned about Islam. They never learned about their own heritage. So they left Islam, became apostates. If they were Muslim at all in the first place. So it's a very serious matter. Okay, we have to understand that we are born with instincts of Tawheed, but our environment around us, our parents, our teachers, our community, they can make us leave our deen if we are not on guard. That's the lesson, the point I want to make here. This hadith teaches us all of us are born with that tawheed as our own fitrah, our own instinct. But those around us, whether our parents or our teachers or the leaders or the rulers, Fir'aun used to force the people to worship him instead of Allah and kill anybody who didn't worship him. Kill anybody who worshipped Allah. The people of the ditch. Why are they? What's famous about the people of the ditch? Why? Because they wanted to worship Allah. Those in authority, they would fight them. So if you're not on guard against those people in authority, if you're not on guard against those people who want to call you away from the tawheed and want you to fall into the hellfire, you're going to fall into it. You're going to be changed. Okay? And sadly, many people, they become so trusting of the government. You tell them what the government is doing, the UK government, what are they doing to Muslims? How they are harming Muslims. They will say it openly in front of everybody. But all they will say is, we don't have a problem with Muslims as long as they have British Islam, our form of Islam. But it's those extremists. And who do they mean extremists? Some people, they think when they say extremists, they're talking about they want to catch Anjum Chowdhury. That's it. It's the only one. All these special laws they're bringing into power, it's just to stop him. These take the children away. They want to take the children away from those extremists. But you don't understand when they say extremists, they mean women wearing hijab is extremist. They think a woman obeying her husband is extreme, is radical. They think for a man to wear a beard or go to Jum'ah instead of going to work is extreme, is radical. They think for you to pray 5 times a day is radical. Don't be surprised. It is the deen they are against. But the naive person, they swallow and they say, no, government wouldn't do that. They are good. They think, David Cameron, Labour Party, Conservative Party, George Galloway, they're the ones, our heroes. George Galloway is a hardcore atheist, communist or socialist. He supports Bashar al-Assad. Why? Because he's communist as well. Okay? Why do you support Saddam Hussein against the Iraq war? Not because he cares about Muslims, because Saddam Hussein was a Ba'athist communist and he's a socialist. They are the same deen. They are the same ideology. Do you understand? That's the reason why he criticizes the West, because they're capitalists. They have different ideology. Not because he likes Islam or because you're your friend. So Muslims will need to be on guard against the kuffar. Because Allah Ta'ala said that if they can make you turn you back from your deen, they will do it. Okay? I'll give you one with this verse, inshallah. Surah Baqarah verse 217, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا يَزَالُونَ يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ حَتَّى يُرُدُّوكُمْ عَنْ دِينِكُمْ إِنِ اسْتَطَاعُوا. He said, they will never stop fighting you until you turn back from your deen, if they can make you. Until they make you turn back from your deen, if they can. وَمَنْ يَرْتَدِدْ مِنْكُمْ عَنْ دِينِهِ فَيَمُتْ وَهُوَ كَافِرٌ فَأُولَٰئِكَ حَبِطَتْ أَعْمَالُهُمْ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ وَأُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ النَّارِ هُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ. And he said, and whoever among you apostates from his deen and he dies as a kafir, then all of their deeds will be lost in this dunya and the hereafter, and they will be in the hellfire, companions of hellfire, and they live there forever. Okay, so this is a good ayah that summarizes for us both of these points. Okay, the fact that there is kafir asli, and they will try and make you kafir murtad. And so whoever becomes apostate from Islam and becomes kafir, and he dies kafir, then he'll be in the hellfire forever. So and Allah informed us that they will always have this role. This kafir asli will always have this role. Okay, and if they are not from those who are, softened and guided by Allah to embrace Islam, then there will be those who want to fight you for your deen and try to turn you away from Islam. Okay. Also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَدُّوا لَوْ تَكْفُرُونَ كَمَا كَفَرُوا فَتَكُونُونَ سَوَاءً. Surah 4 verse 89. Surah 4 verse 89. Allah Ta'ala says, they wish that you become kafir like them so that you can be the same as them. Okay, so you can be the same on equal footing. Okay, but then he said, do not take them as allies. Also in Surah Mumtahina verse 2. I'll write all these on the board, inshallah. So Surah 4 verse 89. and Surah 60 verse 2, Allah Ta'ala says, إن يثقفوكم يكونوا لكم أعداء ويبسطوا إليكم أيديهم وألسنتهم بالسوء وودوا لو تكفرون. He said, and if ever they ever gain authority or power over you, they will become your enemies and extend their own hands and tongues against you with evil, and they wish that you become disbelievers like them. Okay, so though those people who are born upon the fitrah of Tawheed, they need to be on guard, because around them are many people, from parents, from teachers, from governments, from those in authority, from the kafir asliyin, and the shaitan himself, the shaitan of the human and the shaitan of the jinn. They're all trying to change you from your own deen, from your own fitrah, corrupt your fitrah, and to leave and become disbelievers, if they can make you do that. So the other type of kafir, okay? The second type of kafir, a murtad. Okay, and we can divide these up into three types as well. Okay. The one who used to be Muslim, who embraced Islam, okay, and after he embraced Islam, choose a different color, he became jahid. Okay, denying any part of Islam. Okay, somebody could enter Islam, he believes in Tawheed, believes in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but there's a particular thing that he just couldn't accept. He just couldn't accept it, okay? Whether emotionally or just because out of arrogance, or because of stubbornness, or because he was munafiq, and so he denies it. Okay, so now we're talking about something clear cut. Allah sent him revelation, in the Quran and the Sunnah, that matter clear cut, and he rejects it. He turns it away and says, "No, I don't accept it." He said, "I'm not going to accept that." Now, for example, he said denies salah. He said, "Salah is not fard. You don't have to pray." He said, "No, you don't have to fight jihad. You don't need to have khilafah. There's nothing called Islamic State anymore. We don't need to have Islamic State. We can have kufr state. What's the problem?" Okay, or he starts to deny any of the duties in Islam, or any of the ahkam in Islam. Or he starts to deny, for example, he says that no, we don't need the stoning to death is not the punishment for adultery. That is called juhud, complete denying what Allah Ta'ala revealed. Okay, so al-juhud, okay, is the denial, to deny what Allah revealed, or anything that Allah ordered or revealed, clear cut, known from Islam and necessity. Okay, so I'll put here, denying any part of Islam, known by necessity. Known by necessity. Didn't plan this very well, just get some space. Okay, so, and denying any part of Islam known from Islam and necessity is kufr akbar. Now obviously if the person is new Muslim, he hadn't learnt about it yet, we can give excuse. At the beginning of when he's still new Muslim. When I say new Muslim, I don't mean he converted to Islam. Okay? Because somebody can convert to Islam, but he's not new Muslim anymore. Well, how long do you remain new Muslim? Somebody will say, "Brother, I'm new Muslim, make excuse for me." When did you become Muslim? 40 years ago. Akhi, you're older than me. You will be Muslim longer than I have. Okay, so you can't just be new Muslim forever. The question is, if somebody is genuinely prevented from reaching the knowledge, like the one who's living far away from the Muslims in a faraway land, okay, and there's nobody there to teach him. So obviously all the detailed rules of Islam, how many rak'ah to pray, how many rak'ah is maghrib, how many rak'ah is dhuhr and fajr, it could be nobody ever taught him that. And he didn't have the tools of Arabic or ijtihad or anything to reach that knowledge. So for him, he can give him an excuse and say, "Okay, you didn't know how to pray, yes, it's not your fault. But somebody, you told him," and then he denied it and said, "No, I don't care if the Prophet prayed and the Sahaba prayed, but I'm not praying. I don't need to pray. I don't think it's fard. I don't think it's obligatory." And despite all the hujjah being established, all the evidence is clearly being established for him, because those matters, they don't need a lot of interpretation. Those things matters known from Islam and necessity. They don't require a scholar to make ijtihad to reach it. That's what makes it known by necessity, as opposed to being matter which is open to ijtihad, which is the lay person will not know it, unless you ask a scholar. Whereas the matter known by necessity, based on clear cut evidences. Allah Ta'ala says what? The alcohol and the gambling are works of shaitan, so keep distance from it. فَاشْتَنِبُوهُ. Okay, so he hears that and says, no, I think alcohol is allowed. Okay, or he thinks, no, I don't think gambling is, has been prohibited. No. This is called istihlal, or it's called juhud. Okay, it's called juhud. It can be both as well. Okay, or he says Allah ordered clearly. He said, for anybody who's resident, they must fast Ramadan. The ayah is so clear. He says, no, fasting is not an obligation. This is called juhud. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about that in Surah Ankabut. Okay, I believe 47. Yep, Surah 29, verse 47. So 29, verse 47. أعوذ بالله من الرجيم. He said, وَمَا يَجْحَدُ بِآيَاتِنَا إِلَّا الْكَافِرُونَ. He said, nobody makes juhud. وَمَا يَجْحَدُ. Nobody denies our verses except for al-kafirun, except for the disbelievers, the non-Muslims. Okay. So somebody can become an apostate by making juhud. Okay. Just like the kafir asli, they also make juhud, which is what makes them non-Muslims. However, they were already kafir. So we don't need to make takfir upon them, they're already kafir. Meaning, by the meaning of declaring them kafir after Islam, whereas we declare them kafir from the beginning. Number 2, the second type of apostate we can declare. I'm just going to use the board over here to give us some more room, inshallah. Mustahil. Okay. Mustahilun is the one I'm going to put it like this. I'm going to translate it like this. The one who legalizes what Allah made illegal. Okay? The one who legalized what Allah has made illegal, He made halal what Allah made haram, is called istihlal. Okay? It's called istihlal. So, and again, we're talking about what is known from Islam by necessity. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا زِنَا. Don't commit adultery, don't commit fornication. Clearly, the person says, I make it halal. I say it's halal for everybody. Okay? Allah said alcohol is haram. He said no, alcohol is halal. Okay? It's allowed. Allah said that gambling is haram. He said no, gambling is halal. Okay? So this person has made istihlal. He's made legalized the matter. What Allah has made haram, He's made it halal for the people. Okay? Whether that was in his heart, or by his tongue, or by his limbs. Don't let anybody fool you from the murji'ah. The murji'ah, they used to say iman is only in the heart. And some of them they said is in the heart and only manifests on the tongue, but not the limbs, not the body. If somebody says with his tongue, alcohol is halal, it's the same as the one who writes with his hand, alcohol is halal, I make it halal for you. Don't let anybody tell you it's haram. No, it's halal, I write it for you. He writes it in his books and justifies. He writes books refuting the Quran to say, no, the Quran says haram, but I say it's halal. This person is kafir. Even if he never said it with his tongue. Okay? Even more than that. And I'm going to give you one example. Not because I believe this is a good reference point as a person, but just because, for some people, it will bring sukoon to their heart, more than others. Ibn Baz. Okay? Sheikh Ibn Baz, he gave a fatwa in his Majmu' al-Fatawa Ibn Baz, okay, about a woman. She was an author in a magazine in Saudi Arabia, I believe in Saudi Arabia, and she wrote an article making fun of the hijab. Obviously this is kufr. Mocking the hijab is kufr. Okay? So he called her kafir, but that's not the point. He also called kafir, made takfir upon the editor of the magazine. Why? He said because he allowed her to write that, and he published that magazine, when he had the authority to stop her. He had the authority to prevent her. He was in charge over them. He was editor of the magazine. He could have stopped her article going through, but he allowed it to go through and said this was istihlal. This is Ibn Baz fatwa. Okay, don't accuse me of being khawarij. This is Ibn Baz fatwa. Okay. So what about the ruler who allows? Not only he allows the riba in his country, but he also advises a decree and license permission specifically saying you are allowed to deal with riba, not him because he needs a license from me first, but you applied for the license. I give you permission to deal with interest, and he has set up an entire body to regulate all of those banks. And the people they say to you, Akhi, how do you know that the Saudi government knows that the riba is taking place? I know everybody else in the streets, they see it everywhere and they know it's taking place. But how do you know those in authority know that the banks are dealing with know what the banks are doing in the first place? Yeah? Have you looked at the ministry, in Arabia of the financial services? They have an entire ministry for it. And I read one document of theirs and read it. And it's all about the rules laid down for the banks. And they're told that they must report everything that they do. And if they don't report it, then they're going to have stiff punishments. And they made it clear, we monitor everything. We check what everybody's doing in the banks. Why? Because they're trying to stop money going to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State. And so trying to stop money going to fund terrorism, they said. So they monitor everything in the banks. They declare it. Okay? And they lay down detailed rules. Unbelievable amount of scrutiny that they have and how much they actually look into every little transaction. And you're going to say to me after that, the government doesn't know what the banks are doing. The government are telling the banks what they can and cannot do, and they're permitting for them, licensing them, and they have the authority. They can take them off the list and say you're not allowed to be bank anymore in our country, if they're dealing with riba. But no, they're not doing that. Okay, but anyway, mustahil, it could be by the heart, could be by the tongue, and could be by the limbs as well. The one who legislates laws and writes down decrees and says we legislate laws to deal with interest, to deal with gambling, to deal with alcohol, we make it legal for all of you. That's called istihlal. It doesn't become clearer than that. Okay, some people, I don't know how they get confused. They say to you, I know he legalized it, but did he make istihlal? Okay, the two are the same thing. The two are the same thing. How can you not see that when somebody says, I make legal for you this matter which Allah made illegal, it's the same as saying I make halal for you this thing that Allah made haram. It's the same. There's no difference between the two. So the mustahil is kafir. The way Allah Ta'ala says, اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبانهم أربابا من دون الله, that they took the rabbis and priests as lords instead of Allah. And Uday bin Hatim, he asked the Prophet ﷺ about it. I'm not going to go into the whole hadith. We could do that another day, inshallah. In which he said that the Prophet said that the way they used to worship the rabbis and priests was because they used to make halal what Allah made haram, and haram what Allah made halal, and they used to accept it from them. They used to obey them, accept it from them. So the mustahil is also a kafir. Okay, we can mention that was Surah Tawbah verse 31. Is one of the evidences istihlal is haram. As well as in general all the ayat when Allah says وَلَا تَقُولُوا لِمَا تَصِفُ أَلْسِنَتُكُمُ الْكَذِبَ هَذَا حَلَالٌ وَهَذَا حَرَامٌ. So don't say with your tongue this is halal and this is haram. And he said in another verse that when Allah and His Messenger have decreed a matter, you have no choice in the matter. It's not for you to have a referendum about it. Allah said alcohol is haram. So you say let's have a vote. What do you think? Who cares what you think? Who cares what the people think? Allah said وَنِحْكُمْ بَيْنَهُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ. Rule and judge whatever Allah revealed. وَلَا تَتَّبِعْ أَهْوَاءَهُمْ. Don't follow their desires. What do you want to have a referendum for? What do you want to ask them for? What do you want to put it to a vote? Allah already legislated. The third type, and this is where we come to our topic today, inshallah. Number 3, we say an-naqid. Okay, an-naqid. This is what let's use this notation. Naqid with a dad. Okay, you say the one who commits a negation, okay, or nullifier, because we could put it as well, of iman. Okay, so the way if you have a flame, that flame will continue to burn until something extinguishes it. Either because you run out of fuel, or because you took away its oxygen, or you put a blanket over it so it cuts off the oxygen, whatever it is, there's certain things that will extinguish that fire, extinguish that flame. And the iman is the same. The iman is like a flame. If you do something to extinguish it, even though you used to have the flame, even though you used to have iman, the iman will be nullified and disappear. Okay. Another example, we say you have nawaqid al-wudu. You have the negations or nullifiers of your wudu. You can make wudu in the morning, does not mean you will have wudu in the evening. Just as you can have iman in the morning, does not mean you'll have iman in the evening. Because there are some things that will nullify your wudu. There are some things which you make ablution. Okay, you make ablution for your salah. Okay, you wash your face, your hands, your feet, your head, wipe your head. But then after that you go to the toilet. Do you still have wudu after that? Okay. Someone say, Akhi, you become khawarij. How dare you say I don't have wudu anymore? How dare you say? You can say, Akhi, because look, it's clear. No matter, Allah said this, if you do this, your wudu is gone. And if you do this, your iman is gone. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informed us. So there are things that will negate or nullify your iman, just as there are things that will nullify your wudu. So, an-naqid, the one who commits one of the nullifiers of iman. I should say of. Okay. Nullifiers of iman. So, according to Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, and this is just one classification of the apostasy of the kufr. Just as we had 19 branches we mentioned last week, somebody could put 20 or 100. If you look to the books of the Salaf, when they used to speak about apostasy, the chapters of Bab or Ridda, the chapters of apostasy, they used to list hundreds of different individual acts, individual examples of things that will make somebody a kafir. Okay. So, but what you can do is you can summarize them. You can bring umbrella types and terms that will include many of the other types, many of the other examples in one. And so that's what Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab did, and he did this in 10 points. Okay, so he put the 10 negations of iman. Okay, and you can find this in his book or his risala on the same title. Okay, so it's called An-Nawaqid of Islam or Nawaqid of Iman, okay, whichever one you put down. Those things which will negate your Iman or Islam, okay, and make you a disbeliever after you had Iman. Okay. And you should realize as well that anybody you speak to, generally from the Salafi persuasion, or who refers to himself as Salafi and reads the books, so he was likely to have come across this before. So you won't be telling, it should be something he's familiar with, even if he pretends or acts as if he'd never heard of it before. He's probably heard it before. So remind him, and he'll find difficulty disagreeing with what you're saying, because he knows this is what his shuyukh have been teaching him and saying, the writing in the books, and he can't call you jahil without calling them jahil, right? If you point out these examples as well. So the first one. Sorry? What time is Maghrib? 8 o'clock? 10 past 8.
No, it's in the already.
Yeah, is it 10 past 8 now? 5 past 8.
It's started.
Let me make the first point, inshallah, and then we'll break for time. First one is shirk. Okay, we don't need to elaborate too much because we've elaborated a lot already on this point. Okay, so as-shirk, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَغْفِرُ أَن يُشْرَكَ بِهِ وَيَغْفِرُ مَا دُونَ ذَلِكَ لِمَن يَشَاءُ. In 4116, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, verily Allah does not forgive the shirk, but He forgives anything less than that for whoever He wishes. Okay, and very briefly, we say that this shirk is two types. Masail Jaliya or Zahira, Jaliyah or Zahira. Okay, so this is the apparent matters, the clear cut or apparent matters. I mean, so clear, how can you be confused about it? How can you be excused? How can you say you didn't know about it, you were ignorant about it? And the second, we say, Masail Khafiyya. Matters which are much more obscure and hidden. Okay? You could argue that the reality of voting itself in today's, the way that they do voting, elections, democracy, is that people don't know necessarily what the voting means. But the idea of choosing a legislator instead of Allah itself is clear cut. So somebody who says, what's wrong with taking a man as a legislator? He's kafir. He has no way he can have excuse for ignorance because it's matter clear cut. But if somebody said to you, like in Palmer's Green, those brothers that I was discussing with afterwards, he agreed, they agreed, both of them, the ones that we talked for a long time, they agreed. Look, he said, I asked them, if voting is as I described, appointing a legislator of Allah, you agree that it's shirk akbar ma'ana? They said yes, of course. Okay, but they said no, that's not what it is. We're not choosing a legislator. This is about stopping the war. It's like some kind of referendum to say, do you want to go to war? It's obviously not what it is. But that's what they've been convinced. Okay, because people convinced them that because this is what is being hidden from them, and it's become hidden from them because of all this confusion from all the people spreading rubbish about the story. But when you come down to the crux of the matter, to the basic point of the matter, is can you make a man, a legislator, to say, let those people in parliament decide for us what is legal and illegal? Is it up to them? If somebody believes that they can do that, then that is clear cut shirk akbar from al-Masail al-Jaliyah, and has no excuse of ignorance. Okay, so this is the first point. We don't need to go further than that. We've already discussed a lot about shirk, alhamdulillah. So we will break here for Maghrib, and then we'll continue inshallah with point number 2. So number 2. Intercession or shafa'a, okay, also known as tawassul. Okay, so it's called intercession. Okay, so this is when somebody takes an intermediary between him and Allah or her and Allah, and says that they're going to worship Allah through somebody, or worship so-and-so in order to get closer to Allah. Including in here, to make dua to somebody in the grave, for example, in order to become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. And obviously this was exactly how the mushrikeen of Quraysh, they claimed their idols were intercessors between them and Allah, that they worship them only to become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so in Surah Zumar verse 3, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ألا لله الدين الخالص والذين اتخذوا من دونه أولياء ما نعبدهم إلا ليقربون إلى الله زلفى. He says, is it not for Allah the exclusive, sincere worship is due? But those who take as awliya, as protectors or allies or objects of worship for other than Allah, they say we only worship them in order to become closer to Allah. Okay, so that excuse is never going to be accepted. That was Surah Zumar, Surah 39, verse 3. Also, the Prophet ﷺ himself, he warned that this is how the first shirk ever came about. Was in the time of Nuh alayhi salam, or the time before Nuh, the people, they started to take the pious worshippers from before as as on awliya. They say wali, they say this is my wali, this is my intercessor, they say these are our shufa'a, they are our intercessors with Allah. And so they started to worship. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, made dua to Allah, say, oh Allah, do not allow my grave to become a stone to be worshipped. And he warned the people not to do that. And he cursed those who took their own prophets' graves as a place of worship. Okay, so the intercession, of course, remember, is different types. Okay, so there is different types of intercession. We spoke about this briefly before already. So there is intercession in this life, okay, to a living person. In what it's capable of. Okay, this is obviously not shirk. So for example, when somebody says, you know, Brother Abdul Hakim, would you ask so-and-so brother, you know, on my behalf, you know, to please come to the halqa on time, for example. Okay, or so-and-so brother comes to me and asks, you know, Brother Abu Baraa, could you please help me? I want to get married to so-and-so sister, I need somebody to talk to the father, he doesn't respect me, you know, maybe he'll respect you. So this type of intercession is allowed. Okay? You have as well intercession in the hereafter. And this is only for the one that Allah gives permission for the muwahhid to intercede on behalf of the muwahhid, if Allah gives both of them permission for that in the first place. Okay? Only in that situation. So like we have the intercession of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the hereafter, he will intercede for the believers with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then you have the intercession to those incapable, especially in matters belonging to Allah. Okay. You ask somebody something which only Allah can do. Okay. By asking somebody for that, as if you're claiming that person is Allah, or a partner with Allah, they can do it as well. So for example, if he says, if I was to ask somebody here, saying, you know, Brother Abdul Mu'eed, can you forgive my sins? That's shirk akbar. How can he forgive sins? Allah is the only one who forgives the sins. It's not up to anybody else. You know, ask him, can you increase my rizq for me? This is kufr akbar. This is shirk akbar. Okay? Or he goes to the person in the grave who's already dead. He can't do anything. He's incapable. And he starts saying to him, no, why don't you help me? You intercede and pray for me or make dua for me. This person is dead. When you start to go to the person thinking that this person is going to help you or benefit you, this is wrong. Okay? And it is a form of intercession will take the person outside of the fold of Islam. Okay? It's important to know these different types, because the person who wants to worship the grave, he will try to convince you, and they will say to you, look, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah said it's allowed to make intercession. He was talking about that type of intercession, or that type of intercession. Okay? They said, look, the Sahaba, they made intercession with Rasulullah. And you look at the hadith, he's talking about in his lifetime, that went to the Prophet Muhammad and said, make dua for me, Ya Rasulullah, and he's alive. He can make dua. Okay? Or something like that, on the basis of where they were. For example, the Prophet ﷺ, he asked somebody to make dua, to say to Allah, oh Allah, fulfill the dua of Muhammad ﷺ about so and so. Okay? First of all, this was in his lifetime, when the Prophet said, I will make dua for you, and you can make this dua saying, oh Allah, fulfill his dua, because the Prophet ﷺ made dua for him in his situation. That is the permissible type, the one who's living his life, what he's capable of. He's not somebody going to the grave and he can't make dua anymore. So he says to him, oh Prophet, make dua for me. This is not possible. It's not possible anymore. Okay. Number 3. This is the one. Okay, Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab said, number 3 is the one who does not make takfir on the mushrikeen. Okay? You can see why it's so serious, issue of takfir now, all of a sudden. Okay? Just as people that say, Akhi, if you make takfir and he's not kafir, kufr comes to you. Okay? What about if he's mushrik and you don't make takfir, the good of kufr going to come back to you? You forgot that one as well. If you don't make takfir on the mushrikeen, you become kafir. Because when you say, so-and-so person is kafir. Why? Because he worships idols. You are declaring, me and that man are not on the same deen at all. I have my deen, he has his deen. I don't worship what he worships because he worships an idol. And he doesn't worship what I worship because Allah is exclusive, only one. He doesn't have partners. That's what you're purifying your tawheed, purifying your aqidah, purifying the ummah to declare that nobody who worships idols is part of my ummah. No way. We are not from the same ummah. We are not brothers. We are not on the same deen. And when you say to somebody, he worships idols, but he's still part of my deen. He's still part, you're saying, I share a deen with him. Even though he worships idols, we are on the same deen. It means you worship idols too. No, we are the same ummah. Which ummah is that? Don't talk, Muhammad does not worship idols. So if you're with him in his deen, his ummah, you're with him. Declare yourself you're with his deen. You don't want to call the Hindu a kafir. Okay, that means you're Hindu. It means you believe in what he believes. Because you're saying, I do not make kufr in what he worships instead of Allah. Rather, I think that it's iman. It's okay. Because you can only do one of two. Either he's kafir or he's mu'min. So which is it? So the one who commits shirk akbar, in the open, clear matters, whether he was kafir asli or murtad, meaning whether he was originally Hindu or he became Hindu, both of them are kafir. And if you don't consider the Hindu kafir, you're kafir. If you don't consider the Jew or the Christian kafir, you're kafir. If you don't consider the atheist kafir, you're kafir. It doesn't matter if his name was Ahmed. In Bangladesh, they have a whole load of atheist bloggers. They become famous now in Bangladesh. Atheist bloggers. They openly say we are atheists. But their names are all, Ahmed and, I forget the names, they're not important anyway. But, all Muslim names. Why? Because they came from some family, Muslim. Then they became atheist. And now they are bloggers and they insult Allah, insult the Messenger. If you don't know they are kafir, what's wrong with you? If you can't see that they are kafir, it means what? You're on the same deen as them? You're from the same ummah as them? Yeah, so you understand that the idea is to declare takfir upon the mushrikeen is essential, is vital. It is a duty upon you. And the one who doesn't do it, he is kafir. Now obviously that is a general hukm. If two people, they differ about an individual person, not because one of them thinks it's okay, he commits shirk, but he's not kafir, that will make him kafir. But if he says, okay, no, anybody who does shirk, he's kafir, but I'm not sure if he did the shirk or not, I think he's innocent of the crime. This is where two people could differ about an individual person in their ijtihad, about the reality, and so, so they could, why we don't make chain takfir upon an individual person. But the topic in general, if somebody says that whoever commits shirk is not kafir, that person is kafir, no doubt. Okay? Or if he says, I agree, that person definitely, he did the shirk, no doubt he had no excuse as well, but I can't call him kafir. That is the same thing, he can't do that. That person has not made takfir upon the mushrik. So we say either if he refuses or does not make takfir upon the mushrikeen, or he considers their deen to be correct. Okay? Even Imam Shafi'i in his statement, he said anybody who doubts the kufr of the Jews and Christians, he is kafir. Okay? Anybody just doubts it. If he's not sure, I'm not sure, can we really call the Jews and Christians kafir? They believe in Allah. This person has not fulfilled that duty. Your question? No. Okay. So here we have three types of people that could fall into this. Okay. A. Okay. He rejects to call those Allah called kafir as kafir. Okay, so he refused. Allah called them kafir, but he refuses to call them kafir. This is one. He doubts or thinks his deen is correct. Okay? So,
It's hard to see.
should I write that again? Both of them.
Sorry.
Sure, yeah?
I'll just zoom in.
So, or he doubts or thinks that his deen is correct. Okay? He becomes kafir. Okay? Or number C, he praises or promotes his deen. Okay? He's kafir. Both the same. The third one's even worse than the other two. Some people think, okay, I'll go for democracy, but I still call them kafir. Actually, it doesn't make any difference. You're doing worse than the others. The other one, maybe he just doubts. He's not sure. Actually, I'm not sure. Is democracy part of Islam? I don't know. Can man make laws as well? This is kufr. To doubt this is kufr. Okay? But what about the one who he praises democracy, he praises the shirk, he promotes the shirk, he calls for it. He says, come out, everybody come out and vote. Come out and make MPs. Why don't you stand as MP as well? Why don't you too? That person, he is doing worse than the first two. The first one, maybe he doesn't promote it, doesn't praise it. But he just says, I don't want to call him kafir. I can't call him kafir. He's my brother. Yeah? That person is kafir. And the one who, maybe he called him kafir, but he thought, but what if the deen is correct? I don't know. Maybe his deen might have some truth in it. He's kafir as well. And the worst of all, the one who goes all out praising and promoting. Okay? So it's a very serious matter. And in fact, there is ijma' as-sahaba on this topic that refusing to make takfir upon the mushrikeen, okay, then that is kufr akbar. Okay? Because that's part of Islam. The definition of Islam is what? الاستسلام لله توحيدا وانقياد له طاعة والبراءة من الشرك وأهله. It is to submit exclusively to Allah with tawheed and to submit to His commands with obedience and to disassociate yourself from the shirk and his people. To say, I am free from them. They are not from my ummah, I'm not from their ummah. They are not from my deen, I'm not from their deen. I don't worship what they worship, they don't worship what I worship. So, if you didn't make that takfir upon them, you didn't do it. Surah Mumtahina verse 4, Allah Subhanahu says, قد كانت لكم أسوة حسنة في إبراهيم والذين معه إذ قالوا لقومهم إنا براء منكم ومما تعبدون من دون الله. Okay, he said, there's a good example for you in Ibrahim and those with him when they said to their people, we are free from you, we have Baraa from you and everything you worship instead of Allah. كفرنا بكم, and we have kufr in you and what you worship other than Allah. Meaning, as far as I'm concerned, I am kafir in your religion and your ummah is not my ummah. Your ummah is ummah of kufr. And you are kafir in my deen. And you're not from my ummah, you're from your own ummah. That's what he's declaring. Okay, yes.
Point 3b, sorry, is it supposed to be, he doubts, thinks his deen is...
Correct. He doubts or thinks that his deen is correct. The deen of the mushrik.
Oh.
Okay. Thinks his...
Then...
their deen. Okay, their deen is correct. Okay, so Surah 60 verse 4. And it said, كَفَرُنَا بِكُمْ, I have kufr in you and what you believe in worship instead of Allah. And he said, وَبَدَى بَيْنِنَا وَبَيْنَكُمُ الْعَدَاوَةُ وَالْبَغْضَاءُ أَبَدًا حَتَّى تُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَحْدَهُ. He said, and there is between you and us, between us and you, is only animosity and hatred forever until you believe in Allah alone, until you have tawheed. And also in Surah Kafirun as well, the whole surah is pure bara'ah from the shirk and the kufr. Okay. Number 4. Whoever, can you see? Whoever thinks, okay, or even worse, who claims any guidance is equal or better then the guidance, brought by Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam he is kafir, he's apostate, he's left Islam. Okay. So anybody who thinks any guidance, any other guidance, but any other guidance different than the guidance of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is equal or better to it, then that he is a kafir, nullified his Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلَا وَرَبِّكَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ حَتَّى يُحَكِّمُوكَ فِي مَا شَجَرَ بَيْنَهُمْ. He said, no, they are not believers until they make you judge in all matters. ثُمَّ لَا يَجِدُوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ حَرَجًا مِمَّا قَضَيْتَ. And after that they should find no hardship in themselves whatsoever in your decision. وَيُسَلِّمُوا تَسْلِيمًا. And they must submit to it fully. So there's no option for them to say, I'll leave the hukum of Allah and His Messenger and I will seek the hukum of somebody else, a man-made hukum. Or I will judge by it, or I will rule by it, or I will live by it. He cannot have that idea that this one is better, this one is more appropriate. We can choose this one instead. It's the idea of choosing and selecting instead of taking the hukum of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not acceptable. So anybody who thinks there is any guidance whatsoever, modern or ancient, okay, whether Jewish or Christian or atheist or secular, doesn't matter, and they think that that guidance is equal or similar or better than the guidance brought by Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that is kufr akbar. It will take them out of the fold of Islam. Okay, let alone those who start to say to you, in fact, we need to change Islam, we need to reform Islam, we need to update Islam to be more in tune with modern times, the 21st century. What is he saying? What is he saying? He's saying that Islam is not perfect. He's saying that Islam is not the best guidance, that there's something better now that we need to adapt and bring Islam up to. What do you mean up to date? Islam is good for all times. Until the day of judgment, it will be the law in this earth. So there's no doubt that that is an act of apostasy as well. Number 5. Whoever hates any part of Islam, okay, or its rules, okay, or its ahkam, has nullified Islam. He has nullified his iman. Okay, even if he does it, even if he fulfills the rules, but he hates them, he has disbelieved. Okay? He has disbelieved. So somebody could pray the salah, but he hates the salah. He could fight the jihad, but he hates jihad. He could pay the zakat, but he hates the zakat. That person is a kafir. He has left the fold of Islam. Okay? That does not mean somebody who finds difficulty waking up at Fajr time, he dislikes the discomfort of water, the cold water in the morning. That's not called hating the Sharia. He loves the salah, he loves the wudu, but he wishes that he didn't have to have cold water, something like this. That's not the same thing. Okay? Or the woman who she hates to share her husband with some other woman. That's not the same as the one who hates the hukum of a husband having 2 wives. It's not the same thing. Okay, so a woman could love the hukum of Allah and know that it's justice and fair, but say that I don't want it. Because she loves her husband, she wants him 7 days a week, not 3 days a week, not 4 days a week. Okay, so that's different from the one who says, she hates the idea of polygamy, the idea of more than one wife. These are 2 different things. Okay, even Fatima, radhiyallahu anha, she did not like to have, a co-wife with her, and Ali ibn Abi Talib initially wanted to get married again to a second wife, and even the Prophet ﷺ said to him, look, I don't accept to have the daughter of some mushrik combined with the daughter of the Nabi of Allah with one husband. Okay, that doesn't mean that they were hating the idea of polygamy itself. So, but the one who hates the Sharia rules or anything from the Sharia, hates the idea of Hurun Ain, hates the idea of Jannah, or hates any part of Islam, he has left the fold of Islam. Surah Muhammad verse 9, Allah Subhanahu says, ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّهُمْ كَرِهُوا مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فَأَحْبَطَ أَعْمَالَهُم. He said that is because they hated what Allah revealed, and so all their deeds were lost. Surah Muhammad, I believe, is Surah 47. 47, verse 9. Okay, verse 9. Okay, so Surah Muhammad, verse 9. Number 6. To fit this one here, I think. Can the camera see it? Okay. Whoever mocks any part of Islam, okay, including its rewards and punishments, one who makes fun of the punishment of cutting the hand of the thief or stoning the adulterer, or he makes fun of the hijab or the niqab, or makes fun of the salah or the fasting or the zakat or the jihad, or the sahaba or Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a topic in general. Anybody who ridicules or belittles any part of this deen, they become kafir. Okay? Because nobody ridicules a deen while they believe in it, and they have wala and love and allegiance to it. No way, because they're ridiculing themselves. So nobody will make fun of and belittle Islam unless they are a kafir. Surah Tawbah verse 65 and 66. Surah 9 verse 65 to 66. Okay. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَئِنْ سَأَلْتَهُمْ لَيَقُولُنَّ إِنَّمَا كُنَّا نَخُوضُ وَنَلْعَبُ قُلْ أَبِاللَّهِ وَآيَاتِهِ وَرَسُولِهِ كُنْتُمْ تَسْتَهْزِئُونَ لَا تَعْتَذِرُوا قَدْ كَفَرْتُمْ بَعْدَ إِيمَانِكُمْ. He said, if you ask them, they will say, we were just joking and playing. Okay? We were just joking and playing. Ask Mr. Diary of the Bad Man. You say, oh, it's just joke, it's just playing, it's just one way of doing it. Styles and means. It's not styles and means. Allah said, say to them, is it about Allah and His verses and His messenger that you're mocking? Don't make any excuses. لا تعتذروا. Don't make excuses. قد كفرتم بعد إيمانكم. You became kafir after you had iman. Okay? I mean, you became apostates. After you were believers, you became kafir, apostates. So anybody who ridicules or insults the deen of Allah, or any parts of it, then they have left the fold of Islam. Okay, number 7. Hopefully we can finish all 10 points today, inshallah. Okay. Number 7, as-sihr. Okay, magic. The one who indulges in magic has left the fold of Islam. He is kufr akbar, will take him out of the fold of Islam. And indeed, the jinn, the shayateen will never do anything for the magician until he's committed some form of kufr and shirk in the first place. That is on objective, and that's the reason why that's the only reason why they will help the magician in the first place, because they want him to commit the shirk, commit the kufr. In Surah Baqarah verse 102, Surah 2 verse 102, Allah Ta'ala says, وَاتَّبَعُوا مَا تَتْلُو الشَّيَاطِينُ عَلَى مُلْكِ سُلَيْمَانَ وَمَا كَفَرَ سُلَيْمَانُ وَلَكِنَّ الشَّيَاطِينَ كَفَرُوا يُعَلِّمُونَ النَّاسَ السِّحْرَ. He said, they followed what the shayateen they gave, attributing against the power of Sulaiman, or the kingdom of Sulaiman. And he said, and Sulaiman did not disbelieve, did not commit kufr. But those shayateen, they were the ones who disbelieved, teaching the people magic. Okay, teaching the people the magic. Okay, the ayah is very long, but this is enough, inshallah, for us to get the point. Allah Ta'ala declared those who were involved in that magic and teaching that magic, they disbelieved. Okay, they disbelieved. And what happened was those people who came afterwards, they claimed that it was Sulaiman alayhi salam that was teaching the magic, and they tried to say that they were following Sulaiman, and this was a lie. So Allah exposed that lie, said that Sulaiman was not the one who did that at all. He stopped the magic, he stopped the jinn. He had the jinn under his control and prevented them. But it was those other shayateen that started to teach the people how to use the magic in order to separate husband from wife and to do all of their own fitna. And they're the ones who disbelieved, not Sulaiman alayhi salam. Number 8. Al-Muwalat al-Kubra. That was ayah, 102. Okay, Al-Muwalat. Or Al-Muwalat al-Zahira. Al-Muwalat, al-Kubra. Different term you can use. Al-Muwalat al-Zahira, meaning the open helping the disbelievers against Islam. Against Muslims, or against Islam and Muslims. Okay, so we're talking about here the one who helps the people of that deen against the deen of Islam. There's no way for you to claim, I'm from the deen I'm helping to destroy. Impossible. That means you're not from that deen. You've abandoned that deen. Okay? You not say, I'm from the ummah that I'm helping the kuffar to kill them all. You're not from the ummah, you're from their ummah. Understand? There's no way for you to claim both. That you are from the ummah and yet you're helping to kill the ummah. That is contradiction. Okay? So he abandons his wala and allegiance to Islam and the Muslims when he makes that wala, that alliance and allegiance to the kufr or to their own fighting against Islam. So I'm not talking about here somebody who helps a kafir in something permissible. They work together, so he helps him lift up something heavy and put it into his boot of his car, or he helps him push the car in the road because it's stuck in the road and you can't get past, so let me help him move his car out of the road. That's not kufr akbar. You're not helping him in kufr, but you help the police and the armies and the soldiers to fight and kill Muslims, to fight against the khilafah, to fight against the sharia, and you're helping him in that, spying for them. This is kufr akbar. Okay? This is kufr. Don't let somebody say to you, Hudaybiyah has nothing to do with helping kuffar against Muslims. Okay, Hilf al-Fudud had nothing to do with fighting against Islam, nothing to do with fighting against Muslims. So the Prophet ﷺ never helped kuffar against Islam and Muslims. Don't lie about Rasulullah ﷺ. Rather, those who did that, the Sahaba, they used to consider them kuffar. Allah Ta'ala says in Surah Ma'idah verse 51, Surah 5 verse 51, says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, يا أيها الذين آمنوا. He said, oh you who believe, لا تتخذوا اليهود والنصارى أولياء. Do not take the Jews and Christians as allies. بعضهم أولياء بعض. They are only allies to one another. You see this part of the ayah is very important. I mean, nobody will ally with them unless it was one of them. That's what the ayah is saying. بعضهم أولياء بعض. They are only allies to one another. ومن يتولهم منكم فإنه منهم. And whoever among you allies with them, he is one of them. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الظَّالِمِينَ. And Allah does not guide the oppressors. Al-Zalimun in this ayah is not talking about oppressors only. Not the small oppression. Talking about kufr akbar, the one that is the mushrik, like the Jews and Christians themselves are mushrik. Okay. Also, if you look to Tafsir al-Qurtubi, Tafsir Ibn Kathir, they quotes many of the Sahaba, including Ibn Abbas and Ubay. They said that means he's from their deen. His hukum is the same as their hukum. He said, even Ibn Abbas said that he does not receive any inheritance anymore because he's apostate. Okay? And to fight him is obliged the way it is to fight against the kuffar. And hellfire is obliged upon him the way it's obliged upon them, the Jews and Christians. Okay. Number 9. This is quite a serious one as well. The one who claims he is not bound or obliged to obey the Sharia of Muhammad, the one for the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, not the previous Sharia to Musa or Isa. Those have been abrogated. The Sharia revealed to Muhammad. If somebody says, I don't have to abide by that. I can do something else. No, I can go out of that. I can follow my own rules. And the example he gave, okay, he said all that he can follow. He can follow another Sharia or Deen. Okay, whether democracy or Al-Yasik for Genghis Khan, like the Tatar, or the communism, Al-Ba'athiyya, or whatever it is, any other way of life, he says, that person has to follow Islam. And the example that some people try and give, which Sheikh Muhammad Abdul Wahab, he quoted specifically, he said, the one who claims he's not obliged to follow the Sharia of Muhammad, he could follow something else, or if they claimed that I can leave the Sharia of Muhammad the way Khidr alayhi salam left the Sharia of Musa alayhi salam, and he did something else. Because Musa alayhi salam, obviously, it was revealed to him the Sharia clearly, not allowed to kill a child, especially. Because in every Sharia, and yet Khidr alayhi salam, he killed a child, and he was not bound by the Sharia of Musa. Okay, and so anybody who claims that I can be like Khidr for the maslahah, for the benefit, and I've heard this argument as well. That even though Allah and His Messenger clearly forbade this idea of taking legislative instead of Allah, of course it's Shirk Akbar, and of course this is not the Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, of course it's not the Sharia, of course it's man-made law and kufr law, but for the maslahah, for the benefit, I can commit all this haram and kufr and shirk anyway. I don't have to follow the Sharia. And he said, and they gave this example, said, look, for the maslahah, Khidr, he killed the boy. He killed the child for the sake of the maslahah. This argument is kufr. Because in the first place, Musa alayhi salam was not sent to all of mankind the way Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sent to all of mankind. Second of all, Musa alayhi salam went to Khidr because Khidr had knowledge from Allah that Musa did not have. So if you reach the knowledge of Khidr alayhi salam and then come to me and then claim to me, I know where the maslahah is, the special maslahah that even Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not know, even then I'll say to you, you're obliged to follow the Sharia of Muhammad. Because today the only Sharia until the day of judgment for the whole of mankind is the Sharia of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, unlike Musa who was sent only to his people. And that's why when Umar ibn Khattab, he was reading some pages of the Torah, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to him, are you in doubt, O Umar? He said that, by Allah, if my brother Musa was alive today, he'd have no choice but to follow me. Even Musa alayhi salam. So nobody can claim today are not bound by the Sharia of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yeah, question?
Is Khidr part of Musa alayhi salam's ummah?
No, he was not from Bani Israel.
He wasn't from...
No, he's separate. Also Allah Ta'ala says in this Surah Ali Imran, verse 85, Surah 3, verse 85, it says, وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِ غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَا يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. He said, and whoever seeks a religion other than Islam, a way of life, a deen, a way of life other than Islam, it will never be accepted from him, and he will be in the hereafter from the losers, the people of hellfire. Okay. Surah 3, verse 85. So whoever wants to take a deen other than Islam, he is kafir by definition. That is what a kafir is, the one who's taken a deen other than Islam. Even if he believed Islam was the truth, but he said, I'm not going to follow it, I'm going to follow that one instead, he's kafir. He is kafir. Number 10. The last one. It's called al-i'rad, turning your back. On the deen Okay, and we gave the examples of this. We say, neither seeking knowledge about it nor practicing it. It was e.g. the one who abandons the salah. Okay. Also, you can put here the one who refused to pay the zakat in the time of Abu Bakr. They fall under this topic as well. Okay. So this is the one who, has turned his back on the deen. Okay. It's not an excuse to say, he doesn't seek knowledge because if he knows, then he'll have to practice it. So let me remain ignorant. That's better for me. It's not better for you. You become kafir. You're supposed to practice Islam. If you don't know what it is, you have to find out. Not to say, I refuse to find out what Islam says because then I'll have to follow it. That person has turned his back on the deen. He's not even attempting to practice the deen. So the person, his deen has left no sign of the deen left on him at all. This person has left Islam. Okay. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Sajda verse 22. Okay. وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنْ ذُكِّرَ بِآيَاتِ رَبِّهِ ثُمَّ أَعْرَضَ عَنْهَا إِنَّ مِنَ الْمُجْرِمِينَ مُنْتَقِمِينَ. He said, and who is a greater oppressor than the one who the verses are recited to him, his verses of his Lord are recited to him, then he turns away from them, turns his back on it. And verily we will take revenge or punish those criminals. Okay, those of the al-mujrimeen, the criminals. So Surah Sajda verse 22, Surah Sajda is Surah number 32, yeah. 32 verse 22. Surah 32 verse 22. Okay. So these are the 10 negations of the Iman by Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. The way he's categorized it into these 10, summarizing all the various forms of apostasy or the nullifiers of the Iman. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.